I call to order the meeting of the Mayor and Council, Borough of River Edge, regular meeting, December 13th, 2021. I ask for us to take a moment of silence for the people of Kentucky and all along that pathway of despair and death that occurred because of the tornado that recently struck our country, as well as all those who are suffering from the loss of a loved one. Since there is no flag present in this remote environment for tonight, I still ask for us to say the pledge after the moment of silence. Let us have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Right. Statement of compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on January 8th of this location, date, and time, and to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by the posting of the same on the Municipal Bulletin Board and the Borough website, and a filing notice of the same with the Municipal Clerk. Before we begin, I want to welcome Ann Dodd, our new clerk, to her first regular meeting. And thank you for joining the River Edge team. We really are very grateful and looking forward to your presence with us.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Here.
Councilman Canigo,
Here.
Councilman Gautier,
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Here.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Here.
Mayor Papaleo.
Here. All right, so we move to the minutes. We're going to move them as a block. If ever any member of council needs to abstain from a particular one of the four minutes, then at that time you can say yes for all but, and then say either abstain or no if you wish. Could I have a motion from Council President Canigo and a second from Councilwoman Bastide for the following? Approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council regular meeting of November 22nd, 2021. Approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council closed session meeting of November 22nd, 2021. Approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council special meeting of November 30th, 2021. And finally, approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council closed session meeting of November 30th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes, except for A and B, where I was absent, and I will abstain.
Councilman Canigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes, except for C and D.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Okay, so we move to a presentation from our risk consultant and Councilman Ezio Altamoro.
Thank you, Mayor
Ezio,
Papaleo.
welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, members of the council, counselor. My name is Ezio Altamura. I am the Borough of River Edge's risk manager. I distributed last week to Lizette. Hopefully everyone has the Otterstedt packet.
Yep.
Great. Great. Okay. So I'm going to briefly go through this real quick. If you have any questions, please stop me and feel free to ask or reach out to me if there's anything you see that after our meeting you want to ask. You can always give me a call and or send me an email. So first of all, thank you for your appointment in 2021 as the borough's risk manager. If you look on the right side of the packet, it begins with page 1. Basically, this is who we are and what we do at the GEM Otterstedt Insurance Agency. It's just a little background. We've been the Borough of River Edge's risk manager since 2015. If you go to page 2, It just highlights that our agency risk manages over 30 public entities throughout the state of New Jersey. That's just a brief list of some of the municipalities and school boards that we risk manage for on page 2. Page 3 is the resumes of the principals of our agency. It's myself, my partner, Matt, and on page 4, my partner, Joe. So we basically risk manage our public entities within our TNEC office on a team basis. Plus I have my assistants, Matt Jr., whom many of you may see emails from as well. So that's pages 3 and 4. Page 5 begins the plan of risk management for 2021. The Borough of River Edge is a member of the Bergen County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. There are 38 members essentially north of Route 4 that belong to this membership. And that joint insurance fund is part of the larger municipal excess liability, what we refer to as the MEL joint insurance fund. That's the umbrella arm of over 400 public entities in the state of New Jersey. There's 20 JIFs under that MEL system. It's the largest JIF in the state of New Jersey. It's the largest joint insurance fund in the country. Started right here in Bergen County in 1985. If you go to page 6, this is just a highlight of the coverages that we provide through the joint insurance fund: worker compensation, liability, public officials, employment practices liability, crime, environmental impairment, cyber, property, equipment breakdown, and we give a special coverage for emergency service, volunteer, automobile physical damage. So where it starts with limits of coverage, that goes into more detail, which I'm not going to go through unless someone has a specific question. So that's pages 6 and 7. If you turn to page 8 and you see optional excess liability coverage, I highlighted on the bottom that the Borough of River Edge has a total of $30 million of what you commonly would refer to as umbrella liability coverage. That is the highest limit that you can purchase in our joint insurance fund. And actually back on working with Lizette back on February the 5th, we actually bought the additional $10 million, which is offered member to member. And several members in the Bergen Joint Insurance Fund now have that 30 million. Prior to that, we had $20 million. And I thought that was important because the cost was very minimal compared to the exposure. So that's the highest that you can purchase in the Joint Insurance Fund. Under number 4, public officials and employment practices, there's a standard $2 million limit. You have a very low deductible and co-insurance amount, which is itemized under 4. Due to your excellent claims history, we were allowed to purchase those limits and lower limits and out-of-pocket expenses. Under number 5, which starts on page 8 and goes on to page 9, we have the maximum offered under the Bergen Municipal JIF, which is $8 million above the $2 million for a total of $10 million of public officials and employment practices liability. Number 6, we have volunteer directors and officers liability with a limit of $2 million. That's the highest limit you can purchase in the Bergen JIF. That's wrongful acts and breach of duty, losses such as judgments against your volunteer directors and officers. If you turn to page 10, and again, I'm skipping through some of the ones that are probably not exposures that the Borough of River Edge has, such as non-owned aircraft liability. If you turn to page 10, we have environmental coverage through the Environmental Joint Insurance Fund. We have cyber coverage, which essentially gives you data breach, data recovery, and ransomware, third-party media, that sort of coverage. And I'll actually go into that in a little more detail in about 1 minute. Page 11, we have our property coverage, your buildings, your properties, your fire department equipment, all your equipment at Borough Hall, mobile equipment, is all under property, subject to a $2,500 flat deductible for all property. That's on page 11. And then page 12, this is very unique to the Bergen County JIFs, the Bergen and South Bergen JIF, where they actually give up to $2,500 of excess coverage for your emergency service personnel if they're involved, excuse me, in an accident with their personal vehicle, whatever their deductibles don't cover, or if they don't have a deductible, they get up to $2,500 towards the repair of their vehicle while responding to an emergency. And that's very unique to our JIF. If you turn to page 13, these are some additional coverages we write for the Borough of River Edge. We have your accident recreation policy. We deal with and work very closely with Carolyn, your recreation director. We have your statutory bond coverage, and in 2021, we have approval for Sean Kokarski, your library treasurer, Chris Battaglia, your treasurer, CFO, and then in March, we added Deborah Matty as your tax collector. We also have an excess accident and sickness policy for your volunteer fire and volunteer ambulance. That's through VFIS, and that is in addition to any worker comp benefits that may be offered to your members. We also have a volunteer policy for all your adult volunteers, like your committees and your boards, your zoning boards, and so forth, on the bottom of page 13. On the top of page 14, we have your summer program, an accident policy. Again, these are all excess policies. So if anyone's injured, they go to their primary personal medical insurance first, and this covers the costs subject to customary and reasonable of out-of-pocket expenses that are not picked up by their personal insurance. We also have the last one is with Access Insurance Company. We have your volunteer police reserve and citizens emergency response team, and again, above worker comp. We have quasi entities coverage. As some of you may recall, we had added the River Edge Swim Club several years ago, which saved quite a bit of money for that entity. These are the list of entities that we cover under quasi. So they get $5 million of liability extended from the borough's liability through the joint insurance fund. We also have flood coverage for your DPW building on the bottom of page 14 at the limits listed there. And on the top of page 15, we have the firehouse covered. Those are locations that are in a high hazard flood zone. We run those flood zones every year to make sure they haven't changed. And if they are in a high hazard flood zone, we buy the private insurance, because the maximum that you can buy through FEMA, which is $500,000, that's essentially the deductible applied with the joint insurance fund. So you need to buy a FEMA policy first, and then the joint insurance fund would cover above that. Okay. Page 16 are just some items that I'm just going to show you the top two on page 16. I call it risk management, a work in progress. If you go to the left side of the packet, as you may recall, each year I like to show the governing body the 5-year loss history for the borough of River Edge. This is by department, by claims. This is inclusive of worker compensation. So it just gives you a snapshot of where your claims come from. You have an excellent claims history with the joint insurance fund. You really don't have a lot of claims. And in fact, if you look at the bottom of the fund year 2019 to 2020, you can see a very positive decline in the severity of claims, meaning the dollars paid out in the claims. Those numbers are very, very low compared to many members of the joint insurance fund. And these kinds of claims information I review every quarter at your quarterly claims committee meeting and your safety committee meetings. They actually get the packets, and I leave extras for the mayor and council so you can see the claims trends. I always identify trends and try to share with the committee and your departments, department heads, what kind of claims are coming out of the borough of River Edge. So again, River Edge is a very safe community, and that's really due to the governing body and your department heads. Also on the left side of the packet is a one-page flyer. Since the pandemic, the joint insurance fund went to mostly online training. As many of you may know, these are all free services offered through the Mel Safety Institute. And those are your 3 ways of learning: the MSI Live, which are live webinars, usually about 2 hours in length, and offered credits for people like CPWM, RMC, etc. And then there's the MSI Now, which are your 15-20-minute DVDs, which are online 24/7. And then you can actually order DVDs to get sent to the borough if you wanted to do like a group environment. Most people are not doing that because you can log on and actually project if you have a screen and actually show a group class, like your volunteer firemen, for example. Okay. Going back to the right side of the packet, again, these are just items, that we talk about. And I said a moment ago about cyber security. Really hats off to Lizette. She worked with your technology people. If you see my 3rd bullet point in the middle of page 16, the cyber risks faced by local government has changed so dramatically that the JIF raised their deductible up to $25,000 should you have a cyber claim, but they gave you opportunities to actually adhere to tiers 1, 2, and 3, which brings back down that deductible. And the borough of River Edge actually achieved the top tier 3 cyber compliance. So if you ever have a claim, as long as you still have those protocols in place, you would have no deductible. It would essentially get reimbursed. So Lizette worked with your IT people and she did a great job on that. So that was recently approved. On page 17, these are just present coverages and trends. Again, these are items that are discussed at your safety meeting. I speak to Lizette all the time. Jason Melito does a great job with your public works. So these are all items that are just really just bullet points for you to see that some of the things that go on at your safety committee meetings, some of the things that we address like fireworks displays, etc., on pages 17 and 18. And then on page 19, just to conclude, for 2020, the Borough of River Edge actually received $1,000 check towards the Safety Incentive Program Safety Award. So congratulations for that. Also in 2020, the Borough of River Edge received $17,634 as a dividend in response to the overall safety of the 38 members in the Joint Insurance Fund. I sit on the safety committee, and it's a great committee, and River Edge is really a very, very safe community. And really your assessment in 2021 actually decreased a few dollars. We will not see that in 2022. I'm on that committee as well, and the budget just got passed, and we'll see some increases across the board. Every member got assessed the same increase for 2022, but that's due to trends in losses in property, cyber, liability, legislative changes that are affecting public entities and municipalities. And I just want to say thank you again to Lizette for working with me. Lizette really does a great job on behalf of the Borough of River Edge. Jason does a great job, and the entire safety committee. I will mention, Mayor, I want you to know that I actually volunteered on December 2nd in your community at St. Peter's Church, serving tea to the Women's Club. So I
Nice.
became a part of the Borough of River Edge and really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. That was my second time doing this.
That's wonderful.
It was
Thank
a lot
you.
of fun. My girlfriend's friend is involved in your parish, and they need gentlemen volunteers. So I came complete with a tuxedo on with a bow tie, and I had a good
Wow.
time. So you
You went the
ladies
whole
were very
9
nice.
yards.
You have nice people, nice residents in the Borough
We do.
of River Edge.
We do.
So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Any member of council have a question about anything? Michelle Kaufman, Councilwoman Kaufman.
Just wondering, how much do you think the rate is going to go up for next year?
It's 4.99%, Michelle,
Okay.
across the board. They did something very unique, and the budget went up. I'm going to say 6.75%, but everybody went up with rearranging some funds. Everybody, they did across the board 4.99%. Some of the other JIFs I'm involved with, people who had heavier claims got assessed more. The Bergen JIF Executive Committee decided to basically equalize it amongst its 38 members. So I think that was actually a good thing, because
Thank
it
you.
is a pool, and it's a benefit of everyone's tax dollars coming together.
Any other member of council wish to ask a question or make a comment? Well, as always, you do a professional presentation. You have the back of the people of River Edge. I'm delighted to hear that you work so well with Jason and with Lizette. You know, we're very lucky to have you as well as them working for other people. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very privileged to work for the Borough of River Edge. I feel like part of the family. And in fact, we're working with trying to get Lizette onto the executive committee of the Joint Insurance Fund. So
Great.
I nominated her with our, with the nominating committee chair is Mayor Tomasco from Alpine. He's a good friend of mine, and I put Lizette's name out there. I think they had a conversation, correct, Lizette? So hopefully, I don't know if anybody else is vying for the position, but hopefully we get Lizette onto the executive committee starting in January.
That would be wonderful, really wonderful.
We
That's
shall
January
see.
20th, right?
January 20th is yes, that invite went out yesterday from
So
Brandon.
if I may, every member of council is invited, and in fact, you need a quorum, don't you?
Yes, out of the 38 members and the fund commissioners, Lizette is your fund commissioner. We need 20 members, 20
Okay.
fund commissioners.
And what about council and elected?
They don't vote, but they are certainly invited for a great dinner at Seasons Restaurant on January 20th. Lizette has the invite. All they have to do is sign up so they get a head count.
And I believe
it's,
that came in the email today, right, Lizette?
Yes.
All right, great. Well, Ezio, thank you so much for everything you do for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. I will sign off. Have a good evening, everyone. Have a nice holiday. Everyone had a past holiday if you're celebrating Hanukkah, but have a nice holiday.
Thanks, you
Good night,
too.
Ezio. Thank
Me
you.
too.
Thank you. You
Happy
as well.
holidays.
I can do this okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Here we go. Let's see. If
It'll
I'm
be a-
on, just disregard me. Don't pay attention. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, so now we move to agenda item 7 for discussion. Ms. Apertola, I will let you take lead for A, B, C, and D. Go ahead.
Well, the first item listed is the meeting format for 2022, as our boards and we will need to notice all our meetings for the new year. Discussion was held off from the summer to revisit whether to resume in person, remain virtual. And you know, the trends are constantly changing. We are currently in another surge. We have another variant. And one thing I wanted to point out is when adopting the meeting schedule, which will go over the dates, you could determine the dates and specify the location as needed. I saw another municipality had a legal ad that stated for the first quarter of 2022, they were meeting virtually and didn't commit for the rest of the year. They'll make the decision based on the health and science data of the moment. So, but this is a discussion for the governing body so that way they could deliberate. And once you render a decision, then that decision will be disseminated like to the land use board and all our other boards and commissions.
Now, before we begin the discussion in regards to the land use board, we normally need to give them, I believe, 60 days so that they know, so that they don't have to republish. Is that correct, or do I have that slightly off? I might have that slightly.
I'm not sure of the timeline requirement. There was a situation where an applicant had to renotice
Yeah.
based on the venue. But I don't know of any pending applications at this time. I'm not sure.
I already set up the Zooms for the first 2 months, and I believe they set it up so that no one needs to be renoticed regardless of what we decide.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, well, now our discussion is open. Would any member of council wish to offer a recommendation for the council's consideration? Council President.
I'll kick it off. I really wish that we could go back because I miss seeing you guys all in person. I think that prudence at this juncture would dictate the first quarter, at least the first couple of months. We see what happens. I looked at the trends from last year and this year. They kind of mirrored each other, and the same spikes that we were in last year at this time, we're in now. I would say a couple of months more of this. Maybe we revisited either the first or second meeting in March or first or second meeting in April, whatever the council wants. And hopefully by that point, like last year, it will nosedive again. And then we can be back together in council chambers. But with a spike going on now with the variant, I think like the other municipalities, we should consider strongly at least the first 2 months or so, if not the first quarter, we continue with Zoom. Plus, we really do get a lot more attendees in the Zoom, so I think it's good in that way. But having said that, I do want us to get back to the council chambers at some point. I just don't think that right this moment is the time to do it. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. I would just also add that whatever we decide for the council chambers would, of course, extend out to all boards, commissions, and committees. So us remaining remote also means they have to remain remote, which is fine. But I just want to make sure that we understand that this decision does have implications beyond the council. Any other member of council? Councilwoman Kaufman, and then Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
I would lean towards saying we should go back. I was at the Bergen County Commission on Women last week, which I've been on for a couple of years, and we had our first in-person meeting in 2 years. And we just got so much more done in person. So I feel that for the sake of the committees and the commissions, and also activities in the library meeting rooms, we should go back now. 97% of the people in River Edge over 18 are double vaccinated at this point. So, and people can wear a mask inside if they wish to. So I would lean towards going back at this point. Everyone's been back in school for 6 months. It's been okay.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure if it's because we have kids and I'm more risk adverse, but I leaned with the council president, at least for the first few months, given the recent trends. I don't think we are beholden to that, as per Lisette explained, that we can actually make that switch rather quickly. What I wanted to know, and this is probably for Sarlo, is because we get so many attendees, I'm afraid that once we are back in person, those attendees may not go to the meetings. Is there any way that the Zooms can remain, or will that still be the public TV option that we still have?
Once you
Thank
go
you.
back in person, you can have both options going on at the same time. So you're not going to be able to be in person and also have the Zoom option where people are able to come by Zoom and ask questions via Zoom. It's either one or the other for the public.
Any other member of council? Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councilwoman Kaufman. I think that it would be in the best interest of the committees and the commissions and the library, as she mentioned, to have activities, to be back in person. I don't know about the other liaisons, but I've gotten repeated requests for the committees and commissions that I'm liaison to resume in person. They're eager to do so. You know, people can wear masks if they're uncomfortable. I think Michelle's raised good points regarding our vaccination rates, the fact that schools have been back in session. I know I've been back to work in person full time for over a year. I know a lot of other businesses are as well. I think we're all going to restaurants and visiting the supermarket and doing other things with our comfort level. So I would concur with Councilwoman Kaufman that we should return in January and allow the committees and commissions to do the same.
Any other member of council? Councilwoman Kinsella.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree with Councilwoman Kaufman and Councilwoman Bastide on the fact that the committees are probably very eager to meet in person. However, I think that with the trends happening right now, and honestly, a lot of people that are vaccinated are testing positive for COVID, even though they have been vaccinated. So I think that with an abundance of caution, we should stay remote for at least the first couple of months.
Okay, Councilman Gaudier, would you like to? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Sure. What about a compromise here? What about the first 2 months Zooms and then starting in March in person? Does anyone think that's reasonable?
Does any member of council consider that to be a viable? Council President.
Yeah, you know, earlier I said 2 months a couple of times because Michelle said that the land use board was already noticed for 2 months anyway. So I thought that the 2-month time frame would be good. And last year at the end of February is when everything started dipping again. So we know we're going to have a spike over the holiday season. There's no question about it. It happened after Thanksgiving. It's going to happen again after Christmas and New Year's. So let's give it that couple of months and then we'll get everybody back inside. And I don't discount anything that Councilwoman Bastide and Councilwoman Kaufman have said. And I understand that everybody's eager to get back. I think at this point with the numbers, with everything that's happening, with the vaccine mandates everywhere, that the next 2 months are going to change everything drastically. And I think I don't see us losing so much if we meet by Zoom in January and February. I just think it's a safer option.
Okay, if I may add, since go ahead, Councilwoman.
I just wanted to follow up. So when we had this debate several months ago, when we when the council decided to remain virtual, I had asked that the DPW look at ways to put plexiglass or something up on the dais so that we could return safely. I haven't heard whether or not that ever happened, but I would certainly hope that as we continue to deliberate, that those safety measures are being considered and planned for. Thank you.
I don't believe that that has occurred, but not the FCC, the immunization board, what is it called?
CDC?
CDC. The CDC has said, and I know this because I'm a teacher, that that these plexiglass really don't have any effect, and that they're not a useful deterrent to the spread. That the single best thing is the masks. That's what we're doing in school. I've been in school since September with all students in. I also feel that we should open up in January, but if the council does not wish to move to January for the opening, then I think we should give a firm date of March 1st. That we're, unless something drastic occurs. I mean, the numbers I've gotten from the health officer is 100% for those over 18 have gotten at least one vaccination. That may be off, maybe 97 is probably better, but we have good numbers. We have very good numbers for the 12 to 18-year-olds. We have good numbers for the 5 to 11 years old. People are, visiting. However, I do hear, this idea that over the holiday, we'll get a spike because people will be less vigilant. And I think that that makes sense too. So if we could say that it'd be, unless something major occurs, that we could not have another, that instead of having another discussion about whether we're going to open, why don't we say that we will open in March unless a request for reconsideration is made? How about we do it that way? Instead of saying, well, we'll think about it and talk about it later. Let's say March 1st is going to be our firm opening unless there is a request for consideration. Council President.
I'd be okay with that. And again, I think that by then the curves are going to be going the other way. So I think it's a good compromise.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastood?
No, respectfully, I think we should open January 1st.
Councilman Canigo?
Yes.
Councilman Gautier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
No,
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen?
Yes.
Okay, by majority vote, we will remain remote until March 1st, and on March 1st we will reopen unless there is a request to reconsider. All right, we go to the next one.
Yes, the next item are the draft meeting dates for next year, and it's following the regular timetables of the second and fourth Monday of the month, with the notable exceptions. And in the event that there was a conflict on a Monday, instead of scheduling on a Tuesday when court will be held, or Wednesday when there could be a land use meeting, the alternate date listed is on a Thursday. And the other decision that needs to be made to be confirmed is if the recess and reorg meeting will be held on Monday, January 3rd.
Why don't we start with the reorg meeting? Michelle and Claudiana, are you looking for the 3rd? And if so, what time?
that's fine for me. I was thinking 6 o'clock, I guess, if that's good for everybody.
Not 6:30. You want to go a half hour?
Oh,
early?
we can, 6:30 is fine. How about
I'm
you?
just
Claudia?
asking for.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
consistency for the Public.
That's fine. The date and the time is fine.
So we would have the Seni Die at 6:30. with the reorg at 7. Is that acceptable?
Yes,
Claudiana,
Yes,
does any member of council have an objection? All right, so that would be that part.
Yeah, and
Now-
before,
Go ahead.
before we continue, I'm just seeking confirmation since New Year's Day falls on a Saturday, that the borough will observe it on Friday, December 31st. That day wasn't on the resolution adopted at the reorganization meeting. I'm just seeking confirmation that December 31st will be observed as a holiday, just to have it in the minutes.
I think that makes sense. Is there any objection from council?
No objection.
Okay, without objection, it's so approved. Now, Lizette,
Mhm.
I don't have the list in front of me. I don't know what I did with it. I should have it in front of me. But would we have a meeting on the 3rd, which would be the sine die and the reorg? Then would we have another meeting on the 10th and the meeting on the 24th? Or would we just have the 3rd and the 24th?
It would be the 3rd and the 24th.
Okay, so the 10th would not occur. Is
Correct.
that acceptable to the council?
yes,
Yes,
So we would be saying January 3rd for the sine die reorg, and then January 24th would be our first regular meeting. Unless, of course, there's an emergency, and of course, we would then throw something in. Then the calendar would follow as written. I did look at the calendar, but I just can't find it right now. I had no objection with the exception of one I just brought up, which was more of a concern than objection. Is there any member of council who have an issue with the calendar given? Oh, wait, here I have it in front of me now. I do have it. Is everyone good with that? Dario, Council President.
No, you can call me Dario, it's fine. Mr. Mayor, the only question I have for you and for the council is this. We used to have the meetings at 7 PM. We moved them back to 6:30 at some point right around the time of the pandemic. Can we move them back to 7? Because if we're going back in person in March, then for me, it gets a little trickier coming back in from the city to make a 6:30 meeting than a 7 meeting. And that's because of the train schedules that I'm a slave to, unfortunately. So for when we come back, can we move it back a half hour back to 7 PM? That would make it a lot easier for me and possibly for anybody else who's commuting in from the city.
So what is the council's pleasure?
Me.
it's
No
okay with
objection?
me as well. No rejection.
All right, so we will be 6:30 until March 14th for council meetings, but the reopening of the borough will happen at March 1st, but the first council meeting will be March 14th. So we will, just so there's clarification there, that as of March 1st, in-person meetings for any committee, commission, board, or any other body would occur in person. The council will have March 14th simply because that would be our first regular meeting. But if the council should require a, if there was a committee meeting or something like that, that would occur in person starting March 1st. Is that in agreement with everybody? Good.
Yes.
All right. And then the only Thursday would be September 29th. And so we'd plan for that. I think that's
And
doable.
October 13th.
And yeah, there are 2 Thursdays.
No, I have Tuesday written for October 13th. That's a Thursday. If I look, I'm looking at my packet and it says October 13th, Tuesday. Is that a typo?
No, the 13th is a Thursday.
Okay, it's listed as a Tuesday. We'll change it to a Thursday. Okay, so we just have 2. All right. Next item.
The next item is the vaccine policy, and Mr. Sarlo had drafted a vaccine policy, and an updated version was distributed this morning, and this policy mirrors the OSHA guidelines that had been identified a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Mayor, the policy, again, mirrors the OSHA. This is the policy that the direction of the mayor and council was to have a mandatory vaccination policy, not having an alternative with weekly testing and mask wearing. If that's the direction that the mayor and council wants to go, we certainly I can add that component into the policy. But for now, the direction was mandatory vaccination. I did make some revisions over the weekend, and so you have revised one, so I apologize, but I wanted to spend a little bit more time on it. So my suggestion is, if you guys are not comfortable putting it into place now, and you certainly can talk about it now, but if you need some more time, my suggestion would be the personnel committee meet later this week or next week to finish it up, and the remaining council members can certainly have their input, provide us with questions and comments, and then we can firm it up. But if there's no issues or questions, and you guys are, want to discuss and make the changes now, we certainly can do that. The one big change that I took out from the OSHA policy is under number 3, and then in the first sentence under the scope, they had it where all employees needed to be vaccinated, and then there was exceptions. Unless you work from home, unless you are outside the public, and unless you are, for the most part, in outside. And I just felt that was too open to interpretation. Have an employee say, well, I'm outside most of the time and not inside. And I think then, so we certainly can do that, and you have that language in the first one, but I thought it was just open too much for interpretation. And that's where I shrunk it to all employees. Everything else is self-explanatory, unless again you have any changes. It's a it's a work in progress, but the only other thing is the dates under 4. I left it up to the mayor and council when you wanted to start, and give everybody what dates they needed to comply by.
So does the council wish to debate this, or does the council wish to send it to the personnel committee?
I have a question though.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Tom, thank you for the revised version. I just had a question on the definition of employee, because I couldn't see whether we're talking about full-time or part-time. I'm thinking DPW part-timers, things like that may be considered employee but are not full-time.
So right now, an employee would be considered anybody that's getting a paycheck from the Borough of River Edge. Your camp counselors, it would be all employees. That's how it's worded right now. I mean, if you want to start carving out exceptions, fine. I then felt that was under my, like I said, there were some exceptions if you worked outside, but if you want to put seasonal or so forth, you guys can tailor it the way you want. But right now, the way I interpret it, if you get a paycheck, you're an employee.
Okay.
Any other question? So what is the will of the council? Do you wish to consider it now, or do you wish to send it to the personnel committee? Council President.
I think I'd like the personnel committee to take a look at it. To be honest, I wasn't able to read through whatever changes you made, Mr. Sarlo. I'm sorry. I just had a very busy day today, but I'd like to also have the opportunity to read it, and if there are any comments, make them at the juncture.
And that's why I put that recommendation out there. I mean, it falls under a personnel matter, and certainly the full mayor and council can certainly weigh in on it, and they could send their comments to myself and Lizette. And when we sit with the personnel committee or Zoom with the personnel committee, we can bring those comments in, and then have the full or the final version for the entire mayor and council. But maybe today you guys want to discuss dates. And that's probably something you may want to talk and give some direction if you want to discuss that now, because then we'll know how quick the personnel committee needs to get together. Is it in the next couple of days, the next week? So if you can give us a time frame.
Well, we already have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday before the special meeting.
Correct.
If we're not reopening Borough Hall until March 1st, maybe March 1st should be the target date. Give everybody an opportunity to get the vaccine, once the policy is in place. We announce it earlier, obviously, but we'll give the personnel committee the time to give it proper thought. This may be a policy that is not well liked in town, so we want to make sure that we've done everything right.
And the other thing that you may have to consider now is, I mean, it's maybe, you may be amending this soon, is if the CDC comes out and says to be fully vaccinated, you need to have a booster. My daughter's college, to be fully vaccinated for the spring semester, everyone needs to have a booster. So obviously, if they make those changes, we're going to need to make these amendments as it goes along. It's going to be a work in progress, but at least we'll get something in place. And like the council president said, at least be able to have the ability to send it to the departments. And if you so wish to have their input, that'll be up to the mayor and council.
Okay, so is it the will of the council to send it to the personnel committee for consideration?
Yes, or at least my opinion, yes.
I
Okay.
agree.
Let's rephrase it. Is there any objection to sending it to the personnel committee at this point?
No.
No,
All right. Then hearing none, it is so moved. Item D.
Mayor, this is the EV charging station. This is the ordinance that we discussed. This is for, this was the law to bring our code, our zoning code in compliance.
Tom,
With
we're
the-
having a hard time hearing you.
Sure. This is the ordinance we discussed where the state statute was changed to allow zoning changes to allow EV charging stations in new developments or new zoning applications. So the law is the template that was provided by the state. There's really not much the borough and the zoning board can change, except really for signage and for parking width and so forth like that. Those two sections, I mirrored the Fair Lawn ordinance because it was a little bit more comprehensive than the others. So that's what you have in front of you. If you put it on for first reading, this would go to the zoning board for their comments and suggestions and recommendations, and then come back to you.
I think that's reasonable. Is there any objection from council? Hearing none, so moved. All right, I am going to, I need to step away for 3 or 4 minutes. I can hand the meeting over to the council president and open for comments on any item of the agenda, or we can all take a 3 to 5 minute break. Would the council be willing to take a 3 to 5 minute break?
Let's take a 5-minute break, Mayor.
All right. Could I have a motion to suspend for 5 minutes?
So moved.
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. We'll resume meeting of the mayor and council, Borough of River Edge, December 13, regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Here.
Councilman Kanigo?
Here.
Councilman Gautier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella?
Here.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen?
Here.
Mayor Papaleo?
Here. Okay, could I have a motion from Councilman Gaudier and a second from Councilwoman Kaufman to open to the public on any item on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All
So,
in favor? I'm sorry. All in
Sorry, go
favor,
ahead.
please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? We are now open to the public.
so if anyone has a question, just raise your hand and or type it in the chat box and I will allow you to speak. I do not think there are any questions.
All right, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and a second from Councilwoman Kinsella? To close to the
So
public.
move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, so let's move to appointments. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Bastide and a second from Councilman Gaudier to the following personnel changes? We'll move them as a block. Approve the retirement of Kathy Beatty, part-time police dispatch, effective January 31st, 2022. Approve the separation of Frank Tisfano, crossing guard, due to his passing away, effective November 20th, 2021. Approve the salary change of Lizette Apertola, business administrator, from a yearly salary of $130,000 to $145,000, effective January 1st, 2020. Accept the resignation of Robert Burns, construction official, effective December 7th, 2021.
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, there are monthly reports, environmental protection, November, building department, November, Board of Health, November, tax collector, November. Any member of the public would like to see a copy of that, they can contact the clerk's office. There is no reading on, no ordinance on for first reading. Now, we're going to start a new procedure, and I want to make sure I don't get it wrong. What we're going to do is we're going to read through all the ordinances as one and open to the public as one. And then we will have a vote for adoption by ordinance. I believe, Lizette and Tom, this is the procedure we're going to move forward with? Yes? Good. All right.
Yes, Mayor, it'd be more efficient if you do that. Again, as long as you give the public the opportunity to vote on each one, have the public the opportunity to discuss or to make comments on each ordinance prior to the voting. And then you guys can obviously open it up for discussion. So yeah, you can do it that way. As long as you vote, you can't vote on in a block. They got to be individually voted on with a roll call.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is, our procedure has been where I'd read the ordinance and we'd have our business administrator, for the public's benefit, explain what it is. We're going to do that for all 5 ordinances. Then we're going to open to the public and see if they have any questions or comments or objections. Then we're going to close to the public, and then we're going to go back to each ordinance and vote on them separately. All right. Okay, ordinance 21-30, and ordinance amending chapter 240, section 240-4 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge. Ms. Apertola, if you could offer for the public a synopsis or an abstract.
This ordinance establishes the student liaison position for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Very good. Ordinance 21-31, an ordinance to mandate direct deposit for municipal employees by the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 52:14-15F.
This ordinance will establish and codify a portion of the personnel manual, which will enact a mandatory direct deposit policy. Current employees would have the option to request a waiver and opt out. However, all new employees as of January 1st, 2022 will not have that opportunity to opt out.
Okay, ordinance 21-32, an ordinance of the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, creating a new section entitled Seasonal Outdoor Dining.
This ordinance codifies the concept of the outdoor dining that was put in place via resolution every so often as a result to the COVID pandemic. And this would, like I said, it would codify it and establish it from April through October every year. And interested restaurants would need to submit the proper application to the zoning department.
Ordinance 21-33, an ordinance amending the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge, Chapter 362, entitled Streets and Sidewalks.
This ordinance updates the street opening permit. It clarifies the language on fees and bonds and insurance requirements, and it differentiates the requirements for residents as opposed to contractors.
Ordinance 21-34, bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of various improvements to the public library in and by the Borough of River Edge, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $375,000 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate a public library contribution, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
This ordinance completes the financing for the library renovations, HVAC and generator project, and this will enable us to award the bid at our sign die meeting.
Okay, could I have a motion to open to the public on all 5 ordinance for comment or recommendations from Councilwoman Kaufman, and a second from Council President Kanigo?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're open to the public.
So if anyone has a comment, please just raise your hand and I will allow you to speak. Does not look like there are any.
Okay, let's just give it 10 more seconds. And that's 10. Could I have a motion to close to the public on all these ordinances? A motion by Councilwoman Kinsella and a second by Councilwoman Bastide.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it is so moved. Okay, now we need to do this by the numbers, okay? This is debatable. Ordinance 21-30, ordinance amending chapter 240, section 240-4 of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge. Could I have a motion from Councilman Gaudier and a second from Councilwoman Monsanto Cohen?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. It is open for debate as of this moment. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved unanimously. Ordinance, next one, ordinance 21-31, an ordinance to mandate direct deposit for municipal employees by the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 52:14-15F. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman and a second from Council President Kanigo?
So moved.
Second.
This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
All right, unanimously approved. Move on to ordinance 21-32, an ordinance of the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, creating a new section entitled Seasonal Outdoor Dining. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kinsella and second from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. No. This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
yes,
Councilwoman Kinsella,
yes,
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
yes,
All right, that's been approved unanimously. We are now up to D, ordinance 21-33, an ordinance amending the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge, chapter 362, entitled Streets and Sidewalks. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman and a second from Councilwoman Kinsella?
so moved.
second,
This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes,
Councilwoman Kinsella,
yes,
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
yes,
That has been unanimously approved. We now move to ordinance 21-34. Bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of various improvements to the public library in and by and for the Borough of River Edge, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $375,000 to pay the cost thereof, and to appropriate a public library contribution to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to approve the issue and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and a second from Councilwoman Bastide?
so moved.
Second.
This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
yes,
Councilwoman Kinsella,
yes,
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes,
All right, we turn to resolutions 21-339 through 21-348. Does any member wish for us to pull any of them out or ask a question before we move? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion from Councilman Gaudier and a second from Council President Kanigo for resolutions 21-339 through 21-348.
So moved.
Second.
This is debatable. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
yes,
Councilwoman Kinsella,
yes,
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
yes,
Okay, I ask our Finance Chair, Councilwoman Kaufman, and Councilman Gaudier as the second to move 21-349.
at a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on December 13, 2021, be it resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current fund, $198,674.08. Capital fund, $123,509.73. Grant fund, $22.69. Animal control fund, $190.80. Trust other fund, $2,174.01. Open space fund, $757.21. Payroll fund, $21,182.82. Developers escrow fund, $5,477.50. Recreation trust fund, $3,655. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gautier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes,
Councilwoman Kinsella,
yes,
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
yes.
All right, new business. We first start with opioid litigation.
Mayor, I'll take this one. There is a federal class action lawsuit against the opioid distributors and manufacturers. New Jersey is one of the parties part of the class action lawsuit that is pending in Ohio. There is a tentative settlement where 28 or $26 billion is going to be paid. I believe 5 billion is going to be paid by Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturer. 21 billion is going to be paid by the distributors. There's a whole host of them. They're going to be paid over a period, I believe I think J&J has up to 5 years to pay, and the distributors have up to 18 years to pay. New Jersey, the portion of New Jersey would be up to $628 million. It is going to be used for the overall settlement is 3 categories. It's going to be used for the attorney fees, for the abatement, to be used for abatement, and then there was a additional restitution category. So after you minus the attorney's fees, probably be about $100 for everybody to whack up. Nobody got that joke. Come on, Dario, you got it. So the River Edge qualifies because you have to be a local government of 10,000 or more. So we qualify for potential funds. The state is urging every local government to sign up to get the funds. If the state gets 100% participation, they would receive up to the maximum $628 million. So they are asking us to sign on to this litigation. If we don't sign on by January 2nd, we would not be able to participate and receive funds. Your other option would be to not approve or not sign up and sue the manufacturers and distributors on your own, which is really not a choice. So I just need your approval to go ahead and to sign up for the settlement. They indicate that 15% of the $628 million, or up to the $628 million, 15% will flow back to local governments. Obviously, there'll be restrictions on those funds, and they won't be all in one lump sum. They'll be over a period of time. You're probably not going to be able to pave a road, but they'll be used for abatement. Your drug alliance is going to receive probably a significant amount of those funds, or how the mayor and council so chooses after you review the restrictions. So based on that, I just need your authority and your approval to go ahead, and then I will proceed with the registering the town in the national database, and then executing the settlement agreement that has been provided to us by the Attorney General's office. And they indicate that hopefully the first round of funding will probably come in the summer of 2022.
Are there questions? All right. Is there objection to proceeding as Mr. Sarlo has recommended?
I just have a
Councilman Kinsella.
I just have a quick question, Tom. Is there any information that as a borough we have to give to the attorneys?
No, that there was a question I was asked on the webinar as to, do you have to give, how many overdoses do you have, or how many Narcan saves, or any of that? None of that information needs to be given at this point in time. I don't know what the state criteria is going to be as to allocating their 15% to local governments. Is it going to be on a per person ratio, or is it going to be who uses or who had more overdoses? So I don't know, but to answer your question, right now, to sign up and to be eligible for funding, we do not need to provide any additional information.
Thank you, Tom.
Any other questions? Is there objection to moving forward? Is there objection?
No.
Hearing none, so moved.
Thank you.
Welcome. Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you. I had an item to bring to the council under new business. I was approached over the weekend by adult leadership from Boy Scout Troop 184 on behalf of a Scout member who is on the precipice of achieving the Life Scout rank. He's looking for 3 hours of a conservation service time. And in the past, Scouts have done a small cleanup of the Barbara Christensen Way, which is right off Coles Court, which is borough property and actually was created by a Scout troop many, many years ago. And I was asked to bring forward whether we would agree to allow this Scout, along with members of his troop and adult leadership, to conduct 3 hours of conservation service time to do a cleanup of that area, collect garbage, remove the refuse, maybe move branches or things out of the walkway, and clean up along the brook, because there is a brook there as well. This gentleman has to complete these service hours by January 7th due to his age. So I was asked to bring this to the council for his consideration. I would certainly support this, and I would ask my fellow council members to do the same.
I think this is an excellent thing. And is there any objection from any member of council?
No objection.
Thank you. I would ask that this young man communicate to Lizette Appertella the timing of the 3 hours, just so if the police department or the DPW see this happening, they'll know that this was an approved activity.
All right.
Great.
So,
Thank you. Thank you.
so moved. All right. Any other new business? Old business? Okay, we come to public comments. We need a motion to open to the public. Could I have a motion from Councilwoman Bastide and a second from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are open to the public on any item the public wishes to address.
So any comments, just raise your hand and I will allow you to speak.
Okay. What do you think?
It doesn't appear to be anything.
All right. So could I have a motion from Councilman Canigo and Council President Canigo, and a second from Councilwoman Kinsella to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Very good. All right, we are at council comments. And Joe, do you want to go first or last?
I'll go.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Since this is my last regular meeting, I'd like to say that it has been an honor to represent the people of River Edge as a council person. I have enjoyed my time here and have learned a great deal as liaison to various departments, as well as serving on various committees. The work of council is rewarding, but it is also time consuming, and I would like to thank my wife and children for being so supportive throughout my tenure here on the council. A lot has changed since I first joined the council. We have had changes in personnel at many of the leadership positions within the borough. We have had changes at the BA, CFO, Chief of Police, DPW Superintendent, and most recently our new clerk, whose first meeting is tonight. As my days on the council draw to a close, I am very happy that we have such very capable individuals in these leadership positions. I thank each and every one of them, as well as all of our other wonderful borough employees, for everything they do for our residents. I would also like to thank my fellow members of the governing body, both past and present, that I've worked with. We have had to make many tough decisions and deal with a public health emergency that was unprecedented within our lifetimes. Even when we don't see eye to eye on an issue, we have always respected each other's opinions, and treated each other with respect no matter how passionate we feel about an issue. I am very proud of the work we have done and the way we went about it. It has been terrific not only working with all of you, but also getting to know all of you personally. I consider all of you friends and will miss working with you so closely. I, as well as the rest of our residents, are very fortunate that River Edge is in such very good hands. I also would like to congratulate Claudiana and wish her the best of luck in her new position. I'm sure you'll do a wonderful job. Best wishes to all of you. So, in conclusion, happy holidays all. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Does I would assume, I'm assuming every member of council wants to chime in a little bit as Joe says goodbye. We'll start with Council President Kanigo and we'll work through.
Thank you, Mayor. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure, not only working with you, getting to know you, and becoming friends with you. You've been just an asset to this council and to this town. You have taken this job very seriously from the outset. You have worked very hard. You've been a bridge at times when the council has been divided. And it's been an honor sitting on the dais by you and through these painful Zoom sessions of ours. You've made this truly a pleasure, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you, Mayor. So Joe, I know we'll continue to see a lot of each other, both professionally and since we live around the corner from each other, so you won't get that far from me. But it really has been a wonderful experience getting to know you and you sharing your expertise, both from the labor side, as well as professionally as a health inspector. As Dario mentioned, you often did bridge a gap when we couldn't come to an agreement on things, and I appreciate your level-headedness. And I know that you will continue to serve the residents of River Edge, whether it be coaching or what have you. And I look forward to seeing all the great things that you continue to do. So thank you very much for your service. And I know the future holds great things for you.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Well, Joe, we're going to miss you a lot, but I concur. You're going to have a great future ahead of you, and we hope that you stay involved with us in town in one way or another. And yeah, it's been great, but all the best. Happy holidays.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Joe, I've known you for a long, long time. Through these years, I've got to know you in a professional level, and it's been great. I thank you for opening the door to the council and inviting me to run, and I would never forget that. I wish you the best. Enjoy the kids, enjoy coaching, and I'll miss talking to you about these difficult decisions sometimes we need to make. Thank you.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Joe, nothing has been not said, basically, how wonderful you've been on the council. It has been a pleasure getting to know you, and especially your guidance with a lot of questions I've had during my time here. And I'm going to miss seeing you at Brookside Park with your dog, but I will see you. I'll definitely be seeing you around town. So thank you for all that you've done, and happy holidays to everyone.
Joe, I concur with everything that's been said. I'm going to miss our chats. You were very insightful. I'm going to miss you on the personnel committee. But Joe, I'm going to hold you to your promise to me that if things should change in years to come, that you'll return to the council. All right? Because you've done a great job, and River Edge is a better place because of you. Thank you. Joe.
Everyone.
All right, Joe, I'm going to ask you to, Joe and let's have Michelle, if you could make a motion to move Resolution 21-350, resolution to go into closed session, exclude the public, closed session docket number 21-12/13-1, attorney-client privilege, 21-12/13-2, personnel matter, construction official, 21-12/13-3, attorney-client privilege. The first one was appointment and compensation. The last one is easement and maintenance. Could I have a motion in a second? Joe,
So moved.
Second,
all in favor? Do we have to do a roll call or can we do it all in favor?
You just do all in favor.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, Joe, we're gonna call on you one more time. Joe, would you make a motion to adjourn, and Council President Kanigo, will you second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, any abstain? All right, guys, we're gonna go to closed session. Do we need 5 minutes or should we go straight into it? We need
5
5.
minutes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so how about 8:02? Everybody, 8:02. All right, see you then.